What's up, Dirt Trax Nation? Luke here, bringing you guys a walk around of an all-new Kawasaki vehicle. This is some pretty exciting news from Kawasaki for 2025. This is the Ridge Crew, and in particular, this is the Ridge Crew XR. So as you know, the Ridge comes in two flavors, the regular Ridge. The XR is sort of the more sporty one with a little bit more tire size, more horsepower, a few other goodies. So this is the Ridge Crew XR. There is a Ridge Crew non-XR model. One thing that's interesting to note before we go any further, though, I just want to point this out, is that all Ridge Crew models, all of them, it doesn't matter which one you buy, has a full cab and has the HVAC system included. So really, if you want an HVAC cab model, the Crew is a great choice because there isn't any that don't have it. So it's pretty sweet that way. So as you can see, it's basically a Ridge. I mean, obviously it looks like a Ridge, and the front part of it is very Ridge-ish. But the back part is where you see you get some new stuff. There's over 30 inches of extension into the chassis of this side-by-side. Obviously that happens right in this general area, which is where you add that rear door and the second row seats. Now, we've spent some time in this thing already, and the back seat is huge. There's lots of space for big guys like myself. I got Steve from TK Power Sports here filming for me today. We've been riding together in this thing, and him and I are both big dudes, and we both fit in the back really, really well. So that's been great. Mirrors are standard. I'll just point that out while I'm walking around. So here we go. Yeah, 30-inch tires. Now these are what are these things called? These are called Sun Power tires, and the 3010 by 14, so 14-inch aluminum rims. They're actually a pretty good tire. We were riding in the dirt, we had a little bit of mud and lots of snow, and they gave us decent traction today. Now obviously long term, it's impossible to tell right now on a walk around. I can't give you any kind of reviews on that, but they're a nice looking tire, and 30-inch size is you know, a good size for a side-by-side like this. That's what you want. That's what I would want. If you do go with the regular Ridge model, you get a 27-inch tire. Same rim, different machining on the rim, but a 27-inch tire. So that right there is one of the upgrades to go to the XR. And for me, I think for a lot of people out there, the XR is going to be the model. If you're going to recreationally ride at all, you're going to want an XR. Again, we talked a little bit about some differences. The other thing to note is that the Ridge itself is somewhere 93 horsepower, somewhere in that range, whereas the XR is 116 horsepower. Same motor, same driveline, you just get more horsepower. And in a vehicle this size, with a full cab that's pretty heavy, you're going to want that extra horsepower. So the XR really is the model, I think, in my opinion, to buy. I will just talk about some seating configuration items, because there are some differences here and you got to understand what you're talking about. So the Ridge regular model, not the XR, has bench seating front and rear. It'll seat 6 people. It has flip down consoles in the front and rear for the center seat, but you can flip them up and they have seat belts, so it's a 6-seater. When you get into the Ridge XR, the regular XR model, it has 4 seats, 4 high back bucket seats, which is really cool. That would be the one if you're like going to be out trail riding with your family. That's the one you want. And then this one is the limited. This one has 5 seats, so they are bucket seats in the front. They are not high back bucket seats. They are bucket seats, and in the back you get bucket seats on either side and a center seat with a flip down armrest. So there's a lot of choices when it comes to seating configuration depending on how many people you need to take with you. I will say this, if I had a criticism, it's a little strange that you can't get the limited with the 4 high back bucket seats. If you want to just go out and cruise and trail ride, that is not an option. Likewise, you can't get the XR with the 5-seat configuration. So you're really limited in terms of what package you choose depending on the seating configuration you want. I think I would have liked to have seen that done a little differently. With that said, the seats in the limited are phenomenal. They're very, very comfortable. And they are adjustable. Again, the Ridge regular model has just an adjustable driver's seat forward and back, whereas the XR gets adjustable seats on driver and passenger side in the front. The seats flip up in the back as well to give you a lot more room. We'll see that in a minute. But the seating configuration in here is really, really cool, and just so many different options with all the different models. Again, all full cab, all HVAC. So you don't have to worry about which one you're going to choose to get that or spending extra money to get that later. So let's move along. I just want to show how these doors open. So they're very nice doors. They're heavy duty. They're finished on the inside really nicely. You can see there's no like bare outside panels on the inside. They're really clean. No armrest on here, but that's because you get more width inside the vehicle for your body, so the armrest would take up some of that space. It's not something you even notice while you're riding. The door handles like here, the little latch. I think this is great. I absolutely hate it when the latch is in an awkward spot. This is in a great spot. You get a little door cubby here and a handle, and it sounds so stupid, But this makes a difference when you go to close the door, to have this little handhold in here so you can swing the door shut. I like that. It works really well. I mean, it's not really a cubby for storing stuff, but it's just, I don't know, Kawasaki uses the word automotive all the time. They use it so often, it's almost annoying. This is very automotive. You got your power window switch right here, so that's handy for your passenger. And the door is also fully sealed all the way around. I like this little rubber bumper here, so when you close the door, it seals, or sorry, it latches tight but doesn't rattle. That's one of those little details that Kawasaki has thought about. And obviously your ROPS cage is sort of one of those inletted ROPS cages, so everything fits flush. And again, they call that automotive. Other manufacturers have been doing that for a while. The original Ridge, the two-seater, has that as well, and obviously the Crew has it too, and it's very, very slick the way it all fits together, and everything just is nice and tight. Now, normally I don't give a lot of criticisms when I'm doing walkarounds, but I'm gonna this time. This is as far as this door opens, and it's not very far. So I think that's a little strange. You can get in, I can get in easy enough. I'm a big guy, but I can get in easy enough. It's just when you're walking around the vehicle or you swing the door open to get in from out here, you have to come all the way around to get in. It becomes a frustration as you use it more and more. I think if you owned it, you just get used to it and it wouldn't really be a thing. I'm here to pick on stuff, so I'm gonna pick on stuff. So there you go, that's the door. Again, latch is tight, no rattles, it's really nice. Back door, this is another weird one. This is a suicide door, so it opens backwards. I have no idea why. When both of the doors are open, you get a really good view of the interior, but that's as far as you can go. That's the full opening when both doors are open. It's not real huge. But the back door, again, is super nicely finished. I'll move around here. Sorry. Super nicely finished on the inside. You got your little handhold, your latch, and again, your power window switch for the passengers, your rubber bumper to stop vibration. It's fully sealed. But again, this is as far as the back door opens. So, you know, you can fit a lot of cargo in the back seat, flip the seats up. There's lots of space back there, but it would be difficult to get a large whatever in here. Even me being a large guy, I do kind of have to shuffle my way in. So I think that's really weird. It doesn't seem like something that would be really hard to fix either. So I think that if I'm gonna complain, that's gonna be one of my complaints. Fortunately for the Ridge Crew, I don't have very many. This is one of the very few. So don't worry, I'm not harping on it. It's just one of those things. Let's move around the back here. We've got our snow shovel, because part of here at the intro, they made us shovel the back full of snow so we could drive with a whole bunch of weight in it. I've done enough snow shoveling this winter. I don't ever need to do that again. But you do have 1,000-pound capacity in the bed. You've got KQR accessory mounting points on both rails here on both sides, so you can get some of their quick attach accessories. Inside the bed, which you can't really see right now, but there's slots so you can put 2x4s in here and separator or 2x6s, whatever you want, to make dividers. It's a one-handed latch for dumping on both sides, so you have this latch with a nice rubber handle on both sides. Single-handed tailgate, super nice, and you know, obviously that's just what's expected these days on vehicles of this caliber, but it is nice that it latches tight and it's really simple to use. So kudos to them for building a good dump box. It's nice and big and it's easy to dump, so I think it's for the type of vehicle this is. Kawasaki says this fits right in between their utility line and their sport line. It's right in the middle. Sport utility, I guess, is what you would call it. That makes perfect sense, and I think that makes sense. It definitely has a lot of sportiness, but it also has a lot of utility. So the dump box is really, really sweet. Let's look at what else we got to talk about. Okay, so this bumper, it comes on the Limited. This is an accessory bumper that comes on the Limited. Super nice bumper. I like it. I would want that as an accessory no matter which model I buy. 2-inch hitch receiver is standard. Double air mirror suspension, again, 12.7 inches of travel front and rear. Very good suspension travel. And one thing to mention about the motor and the layout of this motor, we haven't talked about the configuration. This is a 4-cylinder 999cc engine. It's very strange configuration for a sport utility like this vehicle. Nobody else in the industry is doing 4 cylinders in this type of vehicle. The only 4-cylinder in the industry other than this one is the Polaris, and it's in a pure sport. So it's very unique. There are certain characteristics of that four-cylinder motor that are really good for this vehicle, and there's some things that aren't exactly perfect. But I think that the balance that they've struck here with this motor is a good one. And it's unique. It sounds amazing. That's really cool. But what they've been able to do in the way they position the motor is it's actually positioned so the intake is on the front and the exhaust is on the back. What that does is keeps the heat from the exhaust away from the cab. So you don't have to worry about the cab getting too hot because of engine heat. The engine heat is actually blown away from the cab out the back of the vehicle, including the exhaust heat. That was a very smart move on their part. Whether that was done specifically for that reason or if it was just a factor of how the engine fit in here and how it was designed, I don't know, but it is a good feature and it's something worth mentioning. Square tire setup all around. So on the XR models, they get a square tire setup. All 4 tires and rims are exactly the same. On the non-XR model, it is not a square setup, so your front and rear tires are different, rims are different. Something to think about. I much prefer a square setup, so I think that the XR, again, another benefit of the XR is that feature there. Again, you got your flush fit cab. Everything just fits so nicely on here. It all just looks super slick. You know, glass rear window, nice big panoramic view. I'd noticed that these sight lines all throughout this vehicle are very, very open. It's easy to see around. It's easy to see out the back when you're backing up as well. From the driver's seat, you get a really good vantage point, and you're kind of sitting up a little higher, so you can actually see pretty close to the back of the vehicle when you're backing up. With that said, there are features that'll help you back up as well, and we'll get into that in a second. Gas cap is right here on the driver's side. That's really nice. And again, we're all the way back around. So that's the exterior. Your roof is standard, full cab. And when we get inside, we'll take a look at some more features of the roof. I guess we should talk about the front a little bit. Again, this is the limited model. So you get this cool front bumper. This is an XR thing. So the XR gets the front bumper on all XR models. It's tough looking, it's gonna be protective, it's definitely worth it. The XR also gets these cool accent lights that the regular one does not get. So those are pretty sweet. Obviously not something that's gonna make your performance any better, but if you're spending money on an XR and it's more expensive, I want accent lights, and you get them. Winch comes standard on the Limited. It's a VRX 45S Warn winch with controls inside and synthetic cable, so that's a really nice inclusion. Obviously, if you're gonna buy a vehicle like this, just put the winch on at the factory or at the dealer if it doesn't already have one, or just upgrade to the Limited and get one included. That's probably your best bet. Double A arms up front, again, you know, nothing special with the front and rear suspension. They're pretty standard stuff. The Ridge Crew model does get slightly different braking though. The actual brake pistons themselves are larger because the vehicle is heavier. So you get, I think they said a 12% increase in stopping power or something along those lines. It's not huge, but I think that's actually something very smart that not a lot of other companies do, is address a heavier vehicle is gonna require more powerful brakes. I've never heard anybody do that other than when they come out with a new model, it gets brakes, but all the sub-models, even the Crew models, never get a new increase in brakes. Kawasaki did it on here, which is really cool. There are 3 separate accessory mount locations or accessory hookup locations to get 12-volt power. There's one in the front, there's one in the back, and there's one inside. So if you're adding things like the winch aftermarket or lights and things like that, there is a connection here under the hood for easy hookup to the battery. There's one in the interior and there's one at the back if you're going to hook up accessories in those locations. So that was really smart. It's handy to be able to just throw stuff on and not have to fish wiring all the way around the vehicle, so that's kind of cool. I think it's a tough looking side-by-side. I think the Ridge has always been a tough looking side-by-side. The Crew model, for me, looks tougher than the 2-Up. I think it just, I don't know, it just has a really trick kind of tough off-road vibe, and I really like it. I think Crew models for me always feel that way. I will say this though, if it was mine, I would tint the windows and it would look even better, so something to think about. Now let's go inside and have a look at the interior. We'll start in the back seat. All right, I got my junk in here. We'll move that first so you guys get an unobstructed view of the back seat. So here we go. Back seat, this is again the Limited, so this is a 3-seater in the back. It's got tons of space. The grab bar here in front of your hands is nice and easy to reach. They're bolstered seats, which is really nice. They're not adjustable, but they're bolstered, and they're low back again, but really thick and well padded, so you're comfortable. Your little storage cubbies here for your whatever you're going to put in there. I don't know, your maps. And then the Limited model also gets a 12-volt outlet and USB outlets in the back seat, which is really, really cool. The other models all get 12-volt but no USB, but the Limited gets the USB. Now, as I talked about before, when I climb in here, I'm 6'1". Look at that knee room. There's tons of space in here. Like, I don't feel cramped at all. I don't even feel slightly cramped. There's nothing underneath the passenger or driver's seat, so my feet can actually go further forward. I actually, you know what? I'm just going to make the claim that this is the most spacious back seat of any 4-seater vehicle I've ever sat in before in terms of overall square inches for my large frame to fit. It's huge. This is great. This isn't just for kids. You could take 4 adults. Maybe 5 would be tight, but you could definitely take 4 adults in here no problem, and everybody would be nice and comfortable. One thing that bugs me, why is this not padded? Like, this is a handhold thing. It'd be cold in the winter. Why not put just a little bit of padding on there? I gripe about that a lot, and I still think it's a valid gripe, but overall, fantastic back seat. Man, oh, interior-wise, we're looking at the inside. Fully carpeted headliner, which is really, really nice. But for this season, all Ridge models, I believe, including the two-seaters, get some more insulation in the roof between the plastic roof and this roof panel. That helps cut down on noise and also helps insulate from the sun. That's what they said. When the sun is beating down on the black roof, it tends to transfer heat into the cab, and the extra insulation layer inside here above this helps mitigate that. You do have a dome light, front and rear, which is cool. It only works from the keys on. And I guess you'd probably be noticing as we're looking at the roof here that there's speakers back here. You're gonna see a lot more speakers, so we'll get to that in just a second. But overall, back seat gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Really like it, and I wouldn't have any trouble putting my friends back here. I wouldn't feel guilty about it at all until we started slaying some sweet corners, and then they'd be screaming and I'd feel guilty, a little. Let's move to the front. All right, transfer my junk. Front seat of the Ridge, again, very, very comfortable side by side. Kawasaki's done a great job of laying this vehicle out. Low back bucket seats, but again, very well bolstered. They're adjustable, as I said earlier, on both sides. You do have an adjustable steering column. I can't remember the degrees. They actually measured the degrees. I've never heard a manufacturer tell us how many degrees it's adjustable by, but you can see it's actually quite a bit. I don't know who's gonna need it that low, some little tiny person, but very adjustable. Again, I gotta point out this is the limited model, so it is full jam, has all the features. Not every Ridge gets all of these features. This is your HVAC center here, multi-zone, which is just like your car, an AC button just like your car, fan speeds, your temperature, and it actually even has a recirc option. So very automotive in terms of how this works. It is not climate controlled like a Can-Am, but I prefer this actually more than climate control because I have more control over where everything goes and how it all works. So this is, I think, a superior system. We've been running in the snow today. It's been cold, it's been warm, it's been all over the map with the weather, and the defrost has been working awesome. We've been warm in the cab all day. It hasn't been a problem, so that's obviously the system works. So this transmission is a little interesting. You do not have park in transmission. You have high, low, neutral, and reverse in transmission, and then this is your parking lever, and it just activates like that. It seems very bulky and kind of, I'm honestly a little bit unnecessary. It seems like there was maybe a simpler way to do this. With that said, it's actually kind of nice to be able to put it in high, park on a hill, and just pull your parking brake, you know, and not have to be shifting all the time. So there are things to complain about or gripe about with this system, but there are also some serious benefits to it. And over the course of the day, I've gotten very used to using this, and I actually kind of like it. So yeah, that's what started as a gripe for me actually turned into kind of a positive at the end of the day, which is why you should always test things more than just for a few minutes. Lots of buttons in here. Again, limited model. You get your Garmin Tread, comes standard with the limited model. I'll flip the key on here so you can just see what it does. It has so many features in this Garmin Tread. It's almost like too many features. You know, you go to your main menu, you've got all kinds of stuff here. Group ride is a feature that works, but only in the US on this on the Kawasaki's with the Tread. So your group ride works great. We've been using it today. You can see all the people in your group. It's very simple to use. You got mapping stuff. So you can actually get turn-by-turn directions, settings, apps. And this is the fun part when you go into apps. This is just like your phone. There's so many different things that this thing has. We've talked about the Tread before and how many options it has, but like, I mean, weather radar and route planner. You know, you go to the next page, you've got a dog tracker if you have a Garmin dog collar on your dog. An InReach, you can connect to your Garmin InReach, which I think is really cool and could be very useful. But there's all campground listings, you know, I mean, go over here, it gets even weirder because you got a full web browser. You know, if you want to surf the internet and check out YouTube while you're driving, I don't suggest it, but you guess you can do it here. Lots of features and options on the Garmin Tread. It's a super in-dash system. And then of course it also does gauges, and there's two different gauges. You got your your pitch and roll measurement here with some other stuff at the bottom. And then you can also switch over to a normal gauge. Tons of information. I believe these things at the bottom are also customizable, which is pretty cool. But I really like this setup, and it's a bright, crisp, clear screen. It just looks beautiful, and obviously the Garmin Tread is something you want to have. You get it in the limited. You cannot, however, upgrade the other models. So that's something Kawasaki made very clear. If you want the Tread, you have to get the limited. So make sure you decide before you buy on which one you want, because you can't just add this later. Every model of the Ridge Crew gets this screen. Every model of the Ridge really gets this screen here, though, which again is a very nice looking screen. It's full color. It is not a touch screen, so that's something you have to understand. It's controlled by buttons right here, but there are all kinds of things you can do with this. Different settings. It's got all the information you could possibly need. It also has something in the limited model that's very cool, and I'm going to try and get here the right way. Okay, so you got your meter, which is your gauge. I go down to camera and select, and now I have my, I believe that's my rear camera. No, that's the front camera. If I hit select again, it zooms. So you can actually zoom in with your camera, which is crazy. And if I go to up, that selects my rear camera, which I can also zoom in. So it has front and rear cameras, that zoom. It's such a cool thing to have. I like the way they're positioned. Actually, the front camera is low enough and angled in a way that you can actually see the terrain coming at you. It's not meant to see the people ahead of you. It's actually giving you a really good view of the stuff you're about to run over. So it's useful that way. And the rear camera is positioned in a way that shows you your trailer hitch, so you can actually see what you're hooking onto, which is super nice. One thing I will point out, Steve and I were talking about this earlier. The rear camera does not come on when you put it in reverse. You have to physically select the cameras every time you want to see behind you. Maybe that's going to bug you, maybe it won't. It doesn't bother me that much. But if you're the kind of person who, say you're plowing and you're forward, reverse, you're going to want to leave this view as the camera view all the time. And that's something you can do. You can drive with the camera on your screen right here at all times, versus, some other competitors' models where when you go forward, it gives you the gauge. When you go reverse, you get the camera. That's not what happens here. I can see situations where this would be a huge benefit, and I can see situations where it would be annoying. For us today, it's been actually pretty good. So yeah, your results may vary. What are the other buttons? We've got a windshield wiper with sprayer, comes standard on all of the models, the crew cab models with the windshield. So power modes, you got 3 power modes: sport, normal, and work. They do exactly what they say they do. Work mode is extremely soft. Excuse me. Work mode is extremely soft. The power delivery is super smooth, almost too smooth in some cases. But if you're just cruising around your yard, it's like the mode to be in. You won't tear up your grass for sure. Sport mode, or normal mode, sorry, is where you're going to spend most of your time trail riding, though I even found normal mode to be slightly softer than I wanted, whereas sport mode is sportier, but it's not like a lot of sport modes where it's jerky and it's hard to control. It's still very smooth in sport mode. You just get the power to ramp up faster. So that's kind of cool. And I've left it in sport mode all day today, and it's been great. You got your 4-wheel drive lock modes here. That's something else we need to talk about. The regular Ridge models, so not the XR, get a locking rear diff. You have 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. Lock is rear. On the XR models, lock is locking front and rear. So in 4-wheel drive, you have open diffs. In lock, you have locked front and rear in this XR model. And 2-wheel drive is an open rear diff in 2-wheel drive. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do value having fully locked front and rear, the XR model is the one you have to buy, because it's the only one that does that. You got window switches everywhere. I have window switches here for the passengers and driver's side. We got window switches here for the back. Everybody's door has a window switch. It's like a window switch party. You get window switch favors at the end of the party. They send you home with a window switch. So there's window switches everywhere. The XR with the bucket seats get the center console. Little storage bin here in the back, which is pretty cool. And the console's really deep, actually. There's a lot of space in there. You can store a lot of junk in there. It's pretty sturdy. Yeah, it doesn't have an armrest, but your arm's too high anyway. So I'm just looking at it. A good spot for your phone to sit, I guess. There's kind of cubbies in a lot of places. Yeah, kind of spots to put stuff. You got one up here in this upper console. You got the upper glove box with another 12-volt outlet in here. Very small, but if you had your phone, you wrapped it up in some foam or something like that, and you shoved it in there, you could charge it. And then you got your glove box, which is not overly huge, but big enough for a pair of goggles, apparently. And it also has your winch, wired winch control in there. Cubby here for stuff, cup holders everywhere, lots of cup holders. Now, I guess the final thing we'll talk about, this is, again, the limited model. I've said it a dozen times. So the limited model gets a stereo. And the stereo is controlled by the Garmin Tread. So it's all set up on here. It's super easy to use, really, really nice. But man, is there speakers in this thing. This is a standard speaker bar that comes with the limited model. There's 4, they look to be about 5 1/4 or 6 inch coaxial speakers in here, shooting right at your face. So you're definitely gonna get your face melted if you're listening to some Zeppelin. But then also in the back up here, I've got ones above my head, and in the back seat, you got them above your head as well. I mean, this is like next level sound system. Furthermore, there's a subwoofer underneath here, I think, or underneath the seat. Somewhere underneath here is a subwoofer. So what's that, 4, 8, that's 9 speakers. If this thing isn't gonna blow your mind, I don't think your mind can be blown. I just think that's not possible. So yeah, pretty cool. You want the stereo system, get the Limited. The Limited's a really great value when you start looking at the different levels and pricing and all that kind of stuff. It actually becomes a really good value to just go to the Limited. It's obviously very expensive, but the stuff you're getting, all of the extras, if you need any of it, the Limited is the way to go. If you're just out trail riding, you're just out for, ripping around on trails, then the regular Ridge XR is fine. It has a lot of great features, a lot of the features that this has, just not all of them. And then of course, if you're not concerned about really recreational riding, you go with the regular Ridge. It has an inch less ground clearance. This has 13, it has 12 max. That's simply due to tire size, that's all that is. Every other sort of suspension spec is the same. But yeah, that's the Ridge Crew. I mean, we've been riding this thing all day. I'm super impressed with it. We're gonna have a lot more information coming out on this thing in the future, a lot more details. There's things about the transmission and some other driveline stuff I wanna talk to you guys about, but you have to stay tuned for the full story. But that is a walk around video and a half that we just shot here. So hope you guys enjoyed watching this one. I hope it answered some of your questions. I hope you're pumped about the Ridge like we are. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on anything. Turn that bell on if you want to be notified right away. Definitely leave some comments. We always like to hear what you guys are thinking, and we try and respond to any of the ones that are worthy of response. So leave some comments. We do read them. And again, appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you on the next one.